Welcome back to Make Yoga Your Business podcast. Today, how a restaurant server went from 3 students in their class to sold out events and retreats. Let's jump in. Welcome to Make Yoga Your Business, the podcast for yoga teachers and wellness professionals who are ready to grow a purposeful and profitable business. Grab your tea, your mat, or just some space to tune in, and let's make yoga your business. Welcome back to Make Yoga Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Kai. Thanks so much for tuning back in. And today I'm sharing a story. I'm sharing a story that is really close to my heart because it's my own. See, before I was hosting all these events and these workshops and retreats and then coaching other yoga teachers to do that for their own business, I was super burnt out. I was broke as a joke, and I almost gave up on teaching yoga multiple times. So if you've ever been in that position where you are pouring your heart into teaching yoga or this wellness industry and you're wondering, is this going anywhere? Am I ever going to be able to make traction? Should I give up and just go for a normal job? Then this is for you. So I'm going to try to keep this as on topic as possible. I've never done an episode like this, so we're just going to riff and see where this takes us. I went to college. I kind of went the normal route. I was really good in school, so I got a scholarship to a university here in Arizona, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea what kind of job I was going for. I studied some writing and mostly general studies. I got a very general liberal arts degree, and when I got out of college, or while I was still in college, I was serving tables. So I was a restaurant server. I worked in some hotels. And that was how I was able to pay my way through college. I don't know if we have any servers here, but there is kind of an insane phenomena where you end up realizing if you get out of college with just like a bachelor arts degree, that the money you were making serving tables is usually far beyond the amount of money that you're going to make just stepping into an entry-level job. And because I didn't know which direction I was going with my career, it never made sense to make that monetary switch. So I kept serving tables. I was working full-time in hospitality, which can be pretty ridiculous hours. I mean, I was working nearly every weekend. I worked at 5 a.m. oftentimes during the week. I was at the hotel closing down shifts until 2 a.m. on the weekends. It was crazy. But through college, I developed an anxiety disorder. I had a lot of hormonal things happening, and I found yoga kind of accidentally. I was working out at a gym, and I wanted to supplement that so I had more mobility. And so I started taking yoga classes at the gym before I would work out. And a couple years later, I realized this was having an insane effect in a good way on my mentality. I was all of a sudden able to, or I guess not all of a sudden, I was able to manage my anxiety and started to become more in tune with the way my mind works and my whole body. And maybe that is a story that you can resonate with and one that feels familiar to you. Here I am, I'm practicing yoga. I'm working in the hospitality industry, so my schedule's all over the place, but there's this whole other side of me that is starting to question the norm. I'm starting to say, why do things work this way? Why am I feeling so anxious? Why does picking a career path feel so repulsive to me? I just wasn't drawn in any of these directions. But after a few years of this yoga practice having such a positive impact on my life, I mean, I was able to avoid medication and all of these things. I said, wow, more people need this help. More people need this experience. And gosh, what year was this? I'm older than I look, people. This was back around 2012, 2013. I went through my first yoga teacher training. And when I went through that training, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And I started teaching before I was even out of my training. So I really jumped in. I wanted to just start teaching right away. What happened to me and what happens to most yoga teachers is if they can land a job at a studio or even a gym, they pick up whatever class they can. So I was picking up classes at 8 p.m., whatever could fit in my schedule around my hospitality job I was doing. And when you're given a class as a new instructor, rightfully so, you're given those kind of crappy time slots. You're just given whatever's left over that the other teachers don't want. And I had very small classes, and the payout for those classes was so minimal. So here I was hustling all day in hospitality, getting to my classes at night and making pennies for it. And it started to get really disheartening because I went through another teacher training and then another one, and I wasn't seeing the traction that made it feel promising to create a real career out of teaching yoga. And I started getting burnt out pretty quickly. So a couple years in, when I was clocking in at my hotel job at 5 a.m., working all day, and then having to go teach yoga after that, I found myself not even wanting to go teach. It felt like such a chore. I just couldn't justify the energy. And I always felt like I was giving my students my leftover energy, which obviously felt horrible. And it kind of created this negative feedback loop. Like I wasn't building traction because I wasn't able to give energy to my students and my classes, and down it went. And so I really did, at a certain point, not too far into teaching, consider quitting the route I was on. I thought maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe I'm just not the kind of person that can see this kind of career through. And I hadn't gotten that much positive feedback from my students yet because I was a new teacher and I had very minimal students. So it's not like I was seeing or hearing from a lot of my students that they were enjoying my classes or that they thought that I was a valuable teacher. So, hey, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But I have this friend who was really pivotal on my journey, and she really did create such an impact in the beginning. One of my very best friends at the time, she was kind of dabbling in her own entrepreneurial type of things, and I didn't have any friends who were entrepreneurial at the time. Like everyone was getting their post-college job and career path, and this friend said, "Hey, how about you try hosting classes outside of the studio? Like, what if you tried to quote unquote do your own thing? Do it in a way that feels really good for you. Do it around a topic that resonates with you. That way, you can at least feel more inspired and you don't have to quit. You can just try this other thing because what else do you have to lose pretty much?" And so at the time, what that meant for me, I was really outdoorsy. I grew up camping, hiking all throughout college. I was backpacking out in the mountains. And I thought, well, I really love nature. This is the one thing that I feel so passionately about. I want to get more people out into nature. So I decided, let's just go ahead and go out in the forest land somewhere and host a yoga class out in nature, just nature-based yoga class. I think at the time I literally called it sunset yoga or sunset adventure yoga is what I called it. And I just put the word out there on my minimal social media following. I had been posting a little bit, just like personal blog type of shares. So I built like 1,000 followers, not all of them locally, but some of them locally. And I put the word out and I said, hey, I'm going to take like 15 people up to the mountain. It's going to be, at the time I charged like $12 to $15. Just come on out with me, see how it goes. Literally scared to death. I was so scared. I had no idea what I was doing. I think I borrowed my boyfriend at the time's portable Bluetooth speaker and brought it up there and just thought, okay, I guess we're going to just see what happens. And I remember at the beginning of class actually telling people like, hey, just so you know, like if I'm shaking, it's because I'm really nervous. So thank you so much for being here. Besides some of that shakiness and nerves that I had, it went really great. It went way better than I could have expected. If I could actually go back in time and like see what I was teaching, how the class went, God, what my playlist probably was, I would be cringing really hard right now. But in terms of like logistics and the flow of everything and the feedback, everyone said they had such a good time. It was a beautiful experience because the people who came were so into the idea of being out in nature. Like if you say, hey, I'm going to go out into nature and host a class, somebody who doesn't like being outside is not going to sign up for that class. So it was a really what I call niche experience bringing people out there. And because it was people who already loved nature and they loved yoga, they had such a good time. And it had very little to do with me, which was really relieving. Because of that positive feedback, I was like, okay, I guess we're going to do this again. Because if you do the math very simply, like say I charged $12, I got 15 people there. I made I don't know, like $150 from that class, which compared to my in-studio classes where I was making probably $25 a class, that felt amazing. I was like, oh my God, I showed up for one class and made over $100. Let's do this again. So I picked a couple other locations in the area and I thought, okay, let's just put the word out again. Let's see, let's do this. But this time around, I was smart. I hired a photographer with all of the money I didn't have and got some photos because my entrepreneurial friend said, it'll be so much easier for you to market if you have photos. At the time, I didn't even know what marketing meant. I was like, okay, yeah, sounds good. Marketing, that, sure. So I got photos taken, of course, because it's out in nature and it was this beautiful setting. They came out amazing. And I used those photos in future marketing. So fast forward a couple years, these events started to grow and grow. I was doing them more frequently. And it built up after a couple years to being closer to like 30, 40 people a class, and I had raised my prices to about $35. So I won't embarrass myself and try to do the math now, but you can assume that was now profiting me so much more than my weekly class. And it was just a very simple, repeatable framework I was using to get people there. So I started doing that 6-7 years ago. And so then fast forward a few years after that, and I was able to create such a steady and predictable income stream for myself. I had replicated the system so many times, and I proved to myself, if I keep doing this thing that works, I can make enough money that I can quit my hotel job and go even more all in on this. I knew I could commit more fully if I did that. At that point, that's when I had built up a couple thousand people of local following, and I started hosting retreats. I had started my email list. And the rest is history. It slowly grew at the beginning. And then once I created traction and was able to go all in on it, start doing those retreats, those higher ticket experiences, I was able to make teaching yoga my full-time job, which still saying that right now sounds pretty bananas. Like that sounds crazy, but it's not as out there, and it's not like one of those 1 in a million chance things. It's not like being hit by lightning. It was simply having a strategy, repeating the process, being really clear on my niche, and just continuing on that path, being patient, allowing time to play out, and the natural course of things when you have a repeatable process that works is that it's always going to be growing. So of course, when you're doing something like this, so many other teachers started reaching out and say, oh my God, Kai, how did this happen? How did you do this? How did you build this thing, this brand, this business, this revenue stream, independent of any studio? Like you did this on your own. That seems crazy. And so at that point, I realized, wow, yoga teachers don't have this knowledge because they didn't spend 6 years fumbling around like I did. Like I went and I studied marketing. I guess that's a whole other piece to this is once I learned what marketing was, I realized that that was going to be the key piece of me being successful doing my own business. So marketing just being, how do you get the word out there? How do you be seen in this crazy online space? And I took a few marketing courses online. I went into some business coaching myself, and I really, over the course of a few years, digested everything I could, podcasts, books, all of it, to study marketing. And so through my personal experience teaching and hosting events and all that marketing training, I realized teachers need this insight. They need this knowledge. If other teachers are relying solely on the yoga studio to try to build this business, they're chasing a losing strategy. And that breaks my heart because yoga being that thing that had such a profound impact on my life and my well-being, I know that it could have that impact on so many other humans if yoga teachers had the skill to get yoga into the hands of more commonplace people. So at that point, I realized, okay, I'm not just a yoga teacher. I have this other calling that I also want to step into. That was kind of a hard place to be because I was very happy, just hosting my yoga workshops and my yoga retreats and not having to work my hotel job anymore. I'd built this business, it was sustaining me, but then I couldn't help it. I was just getting so many people reaching out, wanting this knowledge, wanting help. I just accepted, okay, this is a piece of my calling. I'm going to help other yoga teachers do this for themselves and other wellness facilitators build a business that sustains them to where they're not having to do it in their off time. They're doing it as their way of living. That meant that I had to start an entirely new business, which I wasn't stoked about, but now that I've spent some time really getting help on that side of things, I love it. I love doing this podcast. I love sharing this knowledge, and I'm still able to do my events and my retreats alongside this business. So it really has been this beautiful marriage of the two things that I feel like I'm here to give the world and my two passions, which is this marketing, this helping other yoga teachers, and hosting events. To wrap all of this up, if you're listening and you're like, gosh, that would be insane. That would be life-changing if I was able to make yoga my full-time job, the way I make a living. If I didn't have to do it in my off time, if that's what I woke up and dedicated to every day, how much more powerful of a teacher would you be? How much more skilled at your practice would you be? And how much more able to put yoga and wellness into the hands of as many people as possible would you be? How much bigger could your life mission feel and be if that was your reality? I'm here to tell you that this is not a floaty, airy-fairy dream. This is a real possible reality for you. What stands between you and the yoga career that you want is not luck. It's not being chosen by somebody to take you along on their path. It is just having a strategy. It's having the ability to think of this as a business. So you not thinking on the lens of, I'm a employee of a yoga studio. No, you are a wellness entrepreneur. You're creating a business. And that means that your fate is ultimately in your own hands. And so if you can create a strategy and see the end goal, know where you're going, and create a path backwards, then you are going to be unstoppable. And I won't say that events are the only way to do this. There's dozens of ways to create a living teaching yoga. However, I want you to consider, in a world where so much is getting automated, AI is on the rise, it's here. AI created content is just over the horizon. I mean, you can't go on YouTube today and look up music without being flooded with AI music. And so at what point is that going to be AI yoga videos, AI sound healing? Those online based experiences can be wonderful, and there is a time and place. But if you really want to future proof your career and where you're going in this industry, creating tangible, in person, or at least online live experiences where people can have in real time transformation and connection to you as the facilitator, that is going to be the most powerful, sure, transformational way for you to future proof your business. Robots can't take over the actual physical being of a yoga teacher. So start thinking in that realm when you're thinking of what you want to be creating in this world and where the world is going. So if you're like, yes, absolutely, this is what I need. I want to be creating transformational experiences for my students. I want to be hosting events where people can connect in real time. They can get out from behind their computer. They can sit face to face with somebody, and they can have a real transformational experience. Then what you need to know is there's a very pivotal first step. I see too many people skip this, and I firmly believe that this is why I was able to see so much traction in my business, why people were really drawn to it, and why they continued to come back again and again. And that's because I was crystal clear on my niche. For me, I knew I wanted to help people who lived in the city to get out into nature, experience nature healing, and move their body using the practice of yoga so that they could combine the healing practice of yoga with the healing benefits of Mother Nature. That was my niche. Get people more connected to themselves and to nature. And because I was so clear on that, and that was my sole focus for years, I was able to grow a following specifically around nature-based yoga, and that's what I continue to offer to this day. So I don't expect nature yoga to be your thing. Maybe it is, but for most it's not. But maybe it's something else. Whatever your niche is, whatever your experience, your passion, and what your students are looking for, wherever that intersection is, you can create transformational experiences that offer that for your students and over time build a real following and a real business around what it is that you specialize in. And getting clear on your niche is exactly what I'm going to be teaching in an upcoming free workshop for yoga teachers. And this workshop is free because, like I just said, I know exactly what it's like to be in that beginning stage of your business. It's terrifying, it's overwhelming, it feels nearly impossible unless you have some kind of guidance in the beginning. So this workshop is totally free, and it's going to walk you through a very simple step-by-step process to getting clear on your event niche. So that event topic, what is that topic niche that you're going to be offering that draws people who are meant for you into your experiences? So you'll walk away from this workshop knowing what your experience is, who it's for, and why they'll pay to attend. And this workshop is going to be through Zoom. So it's live via Zoom. There's a few different time slots and dates available. So you'll be able to find a time and date that works for you. And you can find all of the information on this training at withkai.com/training. So that's withkai.com/training. Head over there, see more details, sign up for this training. And if you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram. I'm at yoga.with.kai. Love to connect with you over there. And hey, if this story was helpful, if my story resonated with you at all, you can let me know that too. Maybe you see yourself in parts of this story. I hope that this helped show you what is possible for you. I'm not special. I don't have any skills or abilities that you don't have. I was just a girl serving tables who decided to take a chance on herself. And I firmly believe that this is possible for you. So go ahead and sign up for that training, and I'll see you next time on Make Yoga Your Business podcast. Take care.